Holistic Pet Care 101 allergies. What is the root cause? What causes your dog to have seasonal allergies or just everyday allergies? And today I've got Dr. Kyle Burton with us, my partner on Healthy Paws Herbal Labs, and we're going to be breaking down, what causes these allergies. Dr. Kyle is an acupuncturist, herbologist, works with all sorts of people in their issues with their own general health, and it just branches over to our dog's health. And that's kind of where we create the magic, is by taking everything we learn as humans and bring them into our pets' lives and vice versa. So with that, I would love for Dr. Kyle to say hello to the room and introduce himself and what's up with him new.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Kyle Burton. I became an acupuncturist back in 2006 and started my clinic. And in about 2016, my brother's dog was having really bad allergies, and that's actually how I started Healthy Paws. Was trying to help my brother's pet out, who was just suffering horribly from these allergies. And then we, continued to develop other herbal products because I saw that there wasn't really anything for pets, and I've seen how herbs work so well with my human patients, and they work great on animals too. And it's a very holistic approach. We try to, like Michael said, look at the root cause of the allergy and not just try to do a Band-Aid approach. We're not just trying to clear up the symptoms. We're trying to get to the root problem, whether it's an environmental problem, whether it's a food, it's a contact dermatitis. There's several different etiologies of allergies. And so if you can get to that root cause of it, you should be able to clear it up. And I've got some herbal suggestions that we're going to go through and some supplemental suggestions as well.
Well, and I've heard so many different things here on Clubhouse between vets and holistic vets and different point of views about allergies. When, as you said, like the formulas we created, you started with the Allergy Formula and how well it worked with your brother's dog. And when does somebody know, before we dive into the herbal side of it all, and I would love to hear your intake on this, is before we dive into, oh my God, my pet's got allergies, do I take him to the vet? Can I do it at home? What are the telltale signs that you should be looking for to see where your dog is with their allergies?
Sure. I guess let's define an allergy, right? When your pet's immune system reacts to, anything, and usually harmless, it can be in the environment or in a food, it's called an allergen. It's just your immune system is responding to something. And that something could be completely fine for your other pet, but your dog is having an issue with it. So allergens can be problematic when they're inhaled, ingested, or when it comes into contact with the dog's skin or eyes. And as your dog's body tries to get rid of the allergies, there's a variety of skin disorders, digestive issues that can happen, respiratory issues may surface. These issues, they include, we're not limited to pollacking and chewing. You can get ear infections, watery eyes, dry eyes, itchy skin, a lot of scratching. And, you want to rule out fleas and bacteria and yeast and kind of differentiate between what actually is the root problem as well. Taking allergy herbs aren't going to really help a flea infestation. So usually you'll notice them, and if untreated, they can start to become more problematic. And that's when the itching starts to become into bleeding, or there's hair loss. And if it's really bad, I do understand some people need some immediate relief with veterinarian medication. But for the most part, you can take care of it yourself, especially if you can figure out what it is, and if you can build your pet's immune system as well, and try to avoid whatever it is that's causing the allergen. Environmental allergies can be difficult because you don't necessarily control the environment, but you can help your pet's immune system either adapt to it or reduce some of the other allergens that the pet might be coming into contact with, so that the immune system has some more power behind it to address some of the environmental issues, and it doesn't become such a problem. When there's so many different things that are causing this allergic response, the immune system gets burdened or overburdened, and that's when you start to develop all those symptoms. If it's just a little allergen and your pet's immune system is okay, then it may not have such a dire effect. You might not see some of those dramatic symptoms. But when there's a bunch of allergens, then it can really start to take a toll on your pet's immune system. And then you start to see other issues. Bacteria can start to get out of balance. Our immune system really helps keep yeast and bacteria in check. But if your pet's immune system is continually dealing with an allergen, then it has less resources to deal with some of the other things like the bacteria and yeast. And that's when you can start to get a co-infection, bacterial infections or yeast infections, as well as the allergy.
The immune system. And it's really kind of what we have in the title of the room is get to the root cause. And one of the big things I hear you talk all the time about is building your dog's immune system and making it strong, because it's not just allergies they're fighting off so many other potential ailments that are going on that we may not even recognize because it's in such baby stages with them that we don't see it yet. So by having a strong immune system, it really helps not only the allergies, but it helps every issue inside the dog's body. So getting to the allergies, once we identify that our dog is having allergies and we know that there's something going on with, let's say, their immune system, getting to the root of the cause, how do we, what herbs are accessible besides our products? What herbs are accessible easily for people that have dogs and they want to just start in a baby step and go in this direction and take care of their dog? What's available? What would you recommend? Where would you start there?
One of the easiest things people can do for their pet is to start feeding them some mushrooms. And it doesn't have to be, a big dose. Your pet may not like it, but if you can start to introduce some, even just portobello mushrooms, things that you can pick up at the grocery store, they're really good for the immune system, and that's something that you can hopefully sneak into your pet's food or into one of those pill hider packages that you can get. Turmeric is pretty good. It has a lot of anti-inflammatory products as well, and that's something that you can get at your grocery store that can help in the overall inflammation process in the body. And an allergic response creates inflammation, and so if you can reduce any inflammation, again, you're going to be helping your immune system. So those are some of the quick and easy things that you can do. You can also increase your pet's vitamin C. That's going to help. There's astragalus is a single herb that's really good for increasing white blood cells. There are seaweed. It also has a help with asthma and other inflammatory responses as well. That's something you can introduce into your pet's diet. There's also local bee pollen. So if it is an environmental issue, if it's pollen, if your pet is experiencing allergies at only a certain time of year, then most likely it's just the environment. Chronic allergies, typically I look at the food, but if it's just an occasional and seasonal thing, then you can do bee pollen, and you want to get local bee pollen. And bee pollen itself has the enzymes to break down the pollen, because that's what the bees have. And it's kind of like the allergen treatment that humans get, where you're introduced to your allergen from your doctor, every few weeks, just in really small doses. And it gives your body a chance, your immune system, to build up and start to not react to it. So the bee pollen has that essence as well, because it does have some of the local bee pollen in really small amounts. And so that would be something that I would do not during the season that they're having allergies, but something off season, so that they're not having to deal with the pollen from the environment and the pollen that you're feeding them. I think it's something that you should cycle off when the season is over. So those are some of the things that people can easily add into their pet's diet. If there's eye issues, Goji Berries, I think a lot of people are familiar with Goji Berries now. That was kind of hit mainstream about 5 years ago. I see them in the grocery store a lot now. And that's really good for dry, inflamed eyes. And quercetin is a supplement. It's something that, a lot of people take as well, and it's called Nature's Benadryl. It's really good at decreasing histamine, and histamine is one of those byproducts of the inflammation process. So that's a natural way to help reduce histamine levels too.
So, and I love the fact that you said mushrooms, because the very first thing you said was mushrooms, and everybody can get mushrooms at their store. And if that's an incredible way of building your dog's immune system, what a wonderful way to start. Dr. Katie Woodley, the holistic vet that I work with here in Clubhouse, she always talks about, one of the best ways to help your pet from day one, the first step you could do is just water. So like mushrooms, water, these are just real basic things that are at our fingertips that we can, give to our pets just as a starting point. When we now get into, let's dive a little deeper into Healthy Paws Itchy Scratchy, because that's our allergy formula. You've mentioned all these different herbs that you talk about, the roots and all that. Inside of our formula, I'm assuming that we have all these different herbs added to our formula so that it's in one package, and that's what makes it so beautiful, is that it's a grab and go, and you've got the right dosage and all that, because I would think if you're grabbing all this other stuff off the shelf all the time, you're having to like dose it out. So I think that's part of our magic, right, Dr. Kyle?
Yeah. So the good thing with Chinese herbal formulas is that it's a combination of herbs, and most people go and buy a single herb, and in Chinese medicine we rarely prescribe just a single herb. Everyone's kind of familiar with yin yang, and at the very least you have a second pairing of the herb to help kind of digest the other herb or kind of balance the herb. If it's a really drying herb, there's another herb to kind of help with moisture so it's not too drying, because if you take the same single herb and that's all you're taking, then you can start to create another issue. So the Chinese herbal formulas are great in that they're very encompassing, and they take into consideration the whole problem. And so one familiar formula that we kind of use for all allergies is just kind of a base formula. And so what we did is I added some of the mushrooms as well, because that wasn't a standardized herb in the formula. We added the astragalus, as I mentioned, and that's not one of the standard herbs in the formula. And then we added the CBD oil, which has an anti-inflammatory response, which is great, like we've said, as far as the immune system and inflammation in general. But when your pet is really having an allergic reaction, stress always makes symptoms worse, right? And that goes with anything. That goes with your pets. That goes with us. So anything to reduce your stress levels, typically your symptoms are going to reduce as well. And so that is one of the benefits of having a CBD in the product, is that it does have that calming effect on the nervous system. So that alone, people, have seen results with just CBD, and that's great. And, being able to control the stress and general inflammation is wonderful. But to have some of the extra benefits of the herbs are great. We also added Hushu Wu, which is a really well-known herb that people take for hair loss and for trying to thicken their hair, but it also really helps nourish the skin. And a lot of times I see with pets is when they are licking their skin, or they have patches of hair, that the skin is really dry and flaky, and so the Hushu Wu helps nourish the skin as well. There's Kushin, which is one of the other herbs I added into the formula too, and that's one of the main herbs we use to help itching. And that's in any formula that itching is a symptom. I always include that in there, and it's just really good results. There's another herb, Mudan tea, which, sorry, these are pinyin names. I learned in pinyin, and I have to look at the Latin names sometimes. But I mentioned histamine, and when histamine is released in the immune system, which is just part of the natural process, it gets released, and then your liver has to filter that out and has to break it down. And if the liver is unable to break down that histamine, then the histamine starts to build up in the blood, and that can cause the pet's immune system to start overreacting and become extra sensitive. And even the minor, little scratch can start being really red and inflamed. So there's that herb that we include in as well, in case there is a liver issue. Maybe the allergen isn't so bad, it's just the pet's liver is a little bit weak. And that, I'm not saying that their liver enzymes are off. That's just one way that Western medicine can kind of help test the health of the liver. But, in Chinese medicine, we look at so much more of symptoms and not just like the enzymes. So if the liver is impaired, and then that's the root issue, right? It's not necessarily trying to boost the immune system. It's really just trying to clear out the liver and help the body process the histamine.
So when you're talking about, like, you've added all these extra things besides what you talked about, and you've detailed why you've added them, once again, this making, our product just an incredible product. we are now releasing our essential lines that doesn't have the hemp oil, and people ask, well, what's the difference between the two? Is one better than the other, or how do they work, side by side? What's your breakdown on that, Dr. Kyle?
Well, the CBD is definitely beneficial. I mean, there's so many different studies that are coming out, whether it's calming or seizures or pain. So we do know that it does have a good response. And if you can't afford it, it's great. If you can't afford it and you go to the essential line, it's the same herbal formula just without the CBD. Unfortunately, CBD is a pretty pricey ingredient, and so the price point is definitely higher than just the essential lines. But typically, you're still going to get results. So either way, you might have to do a little bit more of the non-CBD one, but the price point is low enough to where it's still cheaper to do that if you can't do the CBD one. But it's really the same exact formula, just minus the CBD. And you might want to start with the essential line and see if that's enough. And if you think that, stress is a big component, then you might want to get the CBD one. And that's what I tell a lot of patients and customers is that if your pet is a stress ball, you want to treat the stress as well. And that's something that the CBD can help as well. And so if you have that underlying or secondary issue aside from the allergies, then I would definitely do the CBD.
And so, once again, when we're talking about CBD, we're talking about full spectrum, broad full spectrum CBD, not the isolate. And there's a big difference between the two. Dr. Kyle, can you break that down a little bit to give people an understanding what the difference is?
Sure. So broad spectrum and full spectrum. First, it has all the cannabinoids, and so an isolate CBD is usually just the isolate, and in cannabis, CBD is the main cannabinoid, but there are other cannabinoids like CBG and CBN, and those have other health benefits as well. So that's called a broad spectrum. If it has a little bit of THC in it, then it's considered full spectrum. And the full spectrum is typically still within the allowed amounts, that 0.3% of THC. But since we're able to take out the THC completely, we chose to do the broad spectrum because we just didn't want to take any chances. Pets are very sensitive. They have a lot more CBD receptors in their bodies. So they're just more sensitive to the THC. And I didn't feel like that was a necessary component for what we're trying to do. And so that's why we chose the broad spectrum.
Yeah, Dr. Katie says the same thing about the broad spectrum versus the full spectrum because THC is good, and she recommends that THC is good in animals maybe at the end of their life when they're going through maybe some heavy surgery or chemo or anything like that. That's when she'll recommend to do the THC, but besides that, she's like, always stay away from it because dogs are so sensitive to it. Getting back to allergies, and it works relatively quick for our animals and all that. What's the difference between our product and a pharmaceutical, and breaking that down?
Typically, the medication only treats the symptom. So it will relieve the itching. And, if it's a really severe case and the pet is miserable and you need something instant, it can help. But you can't continue to rely on that because it may last 3 months the first time that your pet gets the shot, but it might last only 2 months next time. And so then the body starts getting used to it, and then essentially it can start to become ineffective. And just treating the symptom isn't trying to get to the root cause. And those injections can be expensive as well. So ideally, if you can get to the root, then you don't have to continually give your pet the medication. So that's one of the nice things with the herbal formula is that we do have some of the herbs in there. We do include some of the mushrooms to increase the immune system at the same time as we're treating the symptoms as well. And so the cushion can help with the itching immediately. We've got the blood, skin nourishing herbs in there, like Hushawu and Dongwei, which is angelica, which most people know that herb. If they're familiar with any kind of herbs, it's a really popular herb. So it's the multi approach. We're treating the root, we're treating the symptom all at the same time. And it may take a little bit longer to get results rather than, just doing that quick shot. But in the long run, you'll get more benefits the longer that you use it versus the other way around, where with the medication, the body gets used to it and it becomes less effective. As you continue with the allergy formula, you can start to increase the pet's immune system. So, and at some point you start to come off of the herbs as well, and then you can start to go into, just other things. Maybe you just need the mushrooms to keep up the immune system, or the bee pollen, off season, things like that. So it's not something that you necessarily have to give your pet every day for the rest of their life either. So, you look at the price ratios, and I personally think it's probably cheaper to do the natural route, because you're not always going to have to keep giving it to your pet. And you're supporting the pet's immune system. You're supporting your pet's liver. And there's other side benefits of all the herbs as well. The other herbs will help with inflammation. And so even general inflammation, it always doesn't necessarily have to be inflammation due to an allergy. It can be inflammation from an arthritis and other things as well. So I always talk about the side benefits versus the side effects, which is what a lot of people see in medication. So there really is a benefit to do the holistic route if you can. And even if you need the shot, your pet needs the shot, you can do both at the same time. It's not contraindicated. They're very safe to take together. And so if you need that quick fix with the shot or Benadryl or whatever the case, it's okay to do both. And then generally you'll start to not need that medication as much.
And I like that you just join those two together, where if there is an emergency or they feel like it's an emergency and they want to do the shot and get their dog relieved of their symptoms, but once again, it's masking the symptoms of what the root is. And that's what we're talking about with the Chinese herbs, is getting to the root of the cause, building their immune system, and allowing them to build up their system strong enough where they don't have allergies potentially in the future. And then I love the fact that you even said, that, once they're on our product, they can get off of our product and even just go to maintain their dog's health with just mushrooms in their diet. And I think that's so important, because I see so many pet parents in Clubhouse now coming in, and they're looking for the new answer. They're looking for the new way to treat their dog or cat in regards to their health. And they, just like us, pharmaceuticals only go so far as for us as humans. It's like for pain or even like allergies, like we're talking about Claritin or anything like that. If I have an allergy attack, if I take one of those, it's great for a little bit, but it doesn't really help me for the future. It's just for that instant relief. So once someone starts to take a formula like ours, and how long does it take to take effect? Once it's in the dog's body, how long does it have to build up over time, or is it pretty immediate? What's your experience with it?
Yeah, so the anti-itch herb cushion is you get immediate results with that, and we've had several customers say, "Wow, after the first dose, there was a reduction in the itching." And as the pet metabolizes that herb, the itching can start to come back, and so you have to give the formula again. But at the same time, you are addressing that underlying issue. So it depends on the pet's immune system. If it's older pets unfortunately have a weaker immune system. Just like as we age, our immune system starts to decline. So that's why even going to the mushrooms afterwards is just a good way to keep your pet's immune system healthy. There's plenty of research that shows that mushrooms are helpful with cancer as well. So you have that benefit. But knowing that the skin cycle takes 28 days for your skin to repair, you're not going to see an immediate reduction as far as the skin. It does take a couple of days for you to start saying, oh, okay, it's not as red or not as flaky or as dry. And then over time, within 28 days, you should definitely see a huge change as far as your pet's skin. But it can take a few days to just start noticing some of the more subtle effects of it. But as far as the actual itching, it's pretty immediate. And if there is any mucus, like out of the eyes, they got the mucus building on their eyes, or they're sneezing a lot, there are herbs in there as well that help dry that up. So that does have a drying effect too.
Beautiful. So we're doing our rooms here with Dr. Kyle for 30 minutes, and we start at the top of the hour. We are getting towards the end of the hour here to break down Allergy Holistic Pet Care 101. I'm Michael, your host. if you are interested in what we're talking about, if you would like to take a look closer at our products, you can actually hit me through my DMs and go to our website, and you can learn all about our holistic products there. People are looking for a difference in their life of their dog and how they're treating their dogs, and that's why we're here. And that's why I have Dr. Kyle here to break down allergies today. So we're really talking about if your dog has allergies, the first thing you want to do is you want to get to the root of the cause and see what's causing it. And using a formula like ours helps boost their immune system. So hopefully we're actually getting to that root and eliminating the issue that the dog's having that's creating the allergy. So I invite you to take a look at our site. We do offer a special to everybody in Clubhouse. We do have what we call our travel size of the Itchy Scratchy. If you're interested in receiving one of those, you can also go to our website and select the travel size of the Itchy Scratchy. And when you get to checkout, use the word club as your code, and that's complimentary on us. And another thing we have too is, like, if you have a dog that has issues and you're not sure where to go or who to speak to, but you don't necessarily want to go the traditional route and you want to go the holistic route, we do offer a consultation with Dr. Kyle on our site as well that you can schedule there. And you just could go once again to our site, find his calendar, schedule a time with him, and actually break down what's going on with your dogs and see what we have. If we don't have something that works for you, we do custom formulas for different causes with animals, so we can do that as well. In closing, Dr. Kyle, what would be your closing thoughts on allergies, kind of everything we've talked about, it a quick 6-pointer or 3-pointer tip?
Sure. I think one of the most important things that you need to do is, if your pet has an allergy, you really need to treat the underlying cause, because if you're just using a Band-Aid effect and you're just getting rid of the symptoms, you're not doing anything for the immune system. And the immune system will get weakened over time. If it's continually having to fight this allergen, then it's just going to start to weaken. And then you're going to have other things that might happen. A lot of times allergies, when they're left untreated, you get a secondary issue of yeast, or bacterial infections that can start to affect the pet's digestion too. So, and if your pet is being older, the pet's chances of cancer starts to increase. And there's so much cancer with our aging pets that you want your pet's immune system to be robust and strong. And that's the real, importance of making sure that you're not just treating a Band-Aid and not just using a Band-Aid to treat the symptom, that you are getting to the root cause. So that would be the number one thing that I would suggest is really try to get to the root of the issue, because down the line, you might start running into secondary or third issues that start to become problematic. And it can all stem from just that allergy that was left untreated.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. So everybody, if you're interested in finding out more about our products, you could, once again, DM me, look it up on our website. And if you're interested in visiting with Dr. Kyle, everything that he's talking about right now is so key just in setting your dog up to win, especially during springtime when we get through the allergy season. So once again, I invite you to DM me if you have any questions. DM Dr. Kyle, and I would love to see you back next week. Every week we're having this. Our rooms are 30 minutes long. We just kind of break out one cause or one issue an animal's having and just kind of look at the holistic solution for it, how we can prevent this holistically versus going to a pharmaceutical. I'm Michael. I'm your host. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Kyle, thank you for joining us as well today. We'll see you next week. Until then, everybody, have a wonderful week, and we will see you soon. Thank you for joining us. Bye.